What's going to be? Welcome back to the Prize Picks Props. You're here at FTN Daily, bringing you some of my favorite NBA plays for today. Obviously, today is Tuesday, so that means it's Taco Tuesday. So there's going to be a few different picks throughout the course of the day that give you discounted lines over at Prize Picks. We'll talk about that one in a little bit, but make sure you're keeping your eye on that because it's going to change throughout the day. But I have four additional picks, so you guys can either add on the Taco pick or add on additional picks to make a 5 or 6 leg flex play over there. So like I mentioned, I have four for today, and then we'll talk about the taco promo that's up right now. And then again, there will be a couple more throughout the day, which is the reason why I highly recommend getting into our Discord over there. I'm going to be throwing in the rest of my picks for the other tacos throughout the day. And then obviously in our pick tracker as well, which is free every single day, covering a bunch of different sports. So I highly recommend getting in on the pick tracker and the Discord, as well as the projection edge tool, which compares projections to the PrizePicks lines, giving you the best potential plays there, which is how I get a lot of my plays. So I highly recommend taking advantage of that. So without further ado, let's get into the picks. But before we do, if you're a new user at PrizePicks, head over there, use code FTN, get yourself a 100% match up to $100. And in the comments below, let me know who you guys are betting on tonight in your PrizePicks flex plays. Yesterday on the NBA stream, we built a 6 leg flex play with myself and Zach Kwisenberg there. And we went 5 for 6, and we had one leg missed. The De'Aaron Fox leg missed by less than half a point, or maybe a little bit over half a point. It was less than a point. I think 0.7 points was the exact number that it missed by. He obviously didn't play at the end of the game due to the blowout, and a 5 point spread, by the way. So that was a pretty bad beat. But, on the other side of things, we did have the Tim Hardaway under 3.5 threes hit after he had 3 at half, I believe. So some good and some bad, but it is a bummer to see, the 5 out of 6 there, especially when it's so close. The screenshot looks so brutal. But let's get into the picks here. Hopefully we can keep the roll going there. The model's been doing good for us, so let's keep it up. All right. Pick number one. Let's head over to a guy who just is coming off of a pretty big game himself. Nick Claxton over 36.5 fantasy score. Obviously, this is going to be, FanDuel scoring where you get 3 points for blocks, 3 points for steals, one full point for turnovers, and no 3 point bonus. That works into Claxton's favor immensely, right? He's not going to have a lot of turnovers because he's not going to be handling the ball a ton. He's not a 3 point shooter, so you don't have to worry about him not having the bonus there. And obviously with the blocks and the steals, he gets an additional point. So the scoring format is very good for a guy like Claxton here. Obviously, no Kevin Durant still out with a knee injury, and they just traded away Kyrie Irving, and that's sort of led to a more of an offensive role being needed for Claxton. He only scored 15 points last game, and that was, when you look at the grand scheme of things, that was fairly low for what he's been doing. He's been having some very consistent offensive production, some stuff that I've been very impressed with on the offensive end from Nick Claxton. So when you look at his box score as of late, he scored 15 plus points in 7 of his last 10 and 20 plus points in 5 of his last 10. So he's averaging 17.5 points over his last 10 games. So that's going to, be pretty impactful for a guy who we know we can rack up the ancillary stuff like the blocks and the rebounds and the steals. We know we can do that. So knowing that he can also add on the points there, going to go a long way for a guy like Nick Claxton. So over 36.5 fantasy points is pick number one. Let's go to another guy that we've been on quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. Josh Giddey over 6 assists. He's gone over this number in 3 straight. He actually has 8+ in 3 straight here. He's obviously going to have the ball in his hands quite a bit with some of these guys out for Oklahoma City, like Lou Dort. And obviously, you have to consider the fact that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to have the ball in his hands quite a bit. But even with that being the case over the last few games, Josh Giddey 8+ assists. He actually has 6 or more assists in 7 of his last 10. So he's had a couple of games there that he fell below this number, but over his last 10 games, he's averaging 7 assists. My model has him for a little bit over 7 assists as well. And this matchup against the Lakers has been very favorable to guards. Bottom 3, this Lakers defense is against guards. And you should consider the fact that Pat Bev is probably going to be on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, potentially creating a little bit more additional opportunities for Josh Giddey there. So really like this number for Josh Giddey over 6 assists. So that's pick number 2. I have 2 more, and they're both over on 3-point shots. So these are numbers that I found to be pretty successful in terms of just looking at the line differences between PrizePicks and other sports books, and obviously my projections. So really liking the 3-point shots made lines. So I would highly recommend checking in on those. But the first one is Michael Porter Jr. over 2.5 threes. He's been shooting pretty well. He didn't get there last game. He only had 2 threes last game, but he also had 0 at half, and he made 2 in the second half. So we know that he can rack them up pretty quickly. But in terms of kind of what he's done recently, other than last game, In his last 10 games, he's gone over this number in 8 of his last 10. So it's been a pretty successful, stretch of games here for Michael Porter Jr. But even ignoring the recent trends, the matchup is what I'm targeting here against Minnesota. This team has been much better defensively, and I am slightly concerned about the blowout. But even last game, there's a slight blowout, and we saw Michael Porter Jr. get a little bit of extra run there. So I wouldn't be surprised if he plays a little bit more in a blowout. But the matchup for against shooters has been amazing. It's probably top 5 for sure, top 10. Against shooters, this Minnesota defense ranks 22nd for 3-pointers allowed, 23rd for 3-point percentage allowed. So that's a really good matchup here for Michael Porter Jr., who we're expecting to take advantage of that here in this spot. My model has him for a little over 3.5 threes tonight. So that's pick number 3. On to pick number 4, like I mentioned, another 3-pointers made. We're taking Desmond Bane over 2.5 threes. This number, I think this number might move. I feel like this number is like eerily low. I don't feel great about it being so low. It might be a little bit of a trap, but I love this number. He projects for nearly 4 in my model. Again, an 8.5-point spread. Slightly concerned about that, but it's a really good matchup. This Chicago team ranks 24th in 3-pointers allowed, so it should be a spot where Desmond Bane can fill it up. He's gone over 4. He's got 4+ threes in each of his last 2 games. He's gone over this number in 6 of his last 10. But he can go like Desmond Bane is a guy who can hit 6 and nobody will really bat an eye. So you always like those guys who just have the upside to go way over this number. And even in the 3 games that he did not go under this, they didn't go over this number, he still had 2. So like, obviously he didn't get there, and 2 isn't going to get the job done, etc. But still, knowing that even when he isn't getting there, he's still towing the line. It shows that he's been pretty consistent as well. So Desmond Bane over 2.5 threes is the final play. And then obviously the current taco right now is Jalen Brunson over 21.5 points. That's a 15% discount off his original line at 25.5. And I don't know if 25.5 would be like a strong play for me, but it would definitely be leaning the over. My model has him for over 27 points tonight. So the 21.5 points, definitely something you guys need to take advantage of. Do not miss out on that while it's up. I believe that'll be up till 3 or 3:30. So again, Jalen Brunson over 21.5. That's the taco play. So there's 5 for you. If you want to add an additional one to make it a 25x flex play, feel free. You can head over to our pick tracker, which will have some picks in there, and as well as our edge tool, which will have tons of picks. Pretty much any line that PrizePicks has, we will have a projection to compare it to and spit out the best plays for you. So that's going to do it for me today. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, good luck, everybody, and we will see you guys next time.